So American Underdog just came out. Yes, it's a Christian film, and I know they're cheesy and preachy at times, and I love them. But why am I not too thrilled about this one? Let's talk about it.
Church. Family. Theology. News. Entertainment. Evangelism. If it's Christian, then we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Podcast.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone out there. This is now 2022, and this is our first episode of the new year. And I'm with my wife, Sarah.
Hello, everybody.
And Larry is not with us today, and we'll tell you why in just a second. But we have Joshua behind us doing on the board and keeping everything in order. So we were actually recording this episode all out of order. So I hope I keep everything in proper order here. But today we are going to be talking about a little bit of entertainment. We haven't done that in a while, and we thought we would talk a little entertainment. We went on a date night and went and watched a movie, a Christian movie, and we're going to talk about why we liked it and why we didn't like it. And so we're going to be talking about that. But first, before we play our game, we have a game that we're going to play. And before we do that, let's talk about what we've done the last week or so.
We celebrated New Year's.
We did celebrate New Year's.
Got to have a bunch of people over.
Not a bunch. Actually, this is a low-key one compared to the previous years.
That's true. That's true. But we had people over and had pizza, and then Jeremiah put on a big fireworks show.
We had a lot of the neighbors in the neighborhood come by and watch.
Right.
And Jeremiah put on a pretty good show.
It was a good show. He had bought that new electrical device where he could put on the...
Basically, he just sits there and push buttons, and everything it sends a message it ignites them, basically, and he has them all daisy chained. So it's a grand finale for a little while. And
which I liked because it was safer. Instead of seeing him out there lighting things and you're always hoping, you know, he won't blow up or something. This time he was sitting by us and just pushing buttons, so that was better.
It's relative. I mean, if things can go wrong. It can point towards us, and then we're in danger.
Well, there's always that.
But he designs everything to where it's pretty safe. He's actually on his YouTube channel. He shows how to build these rack cases. I forget what they're called, but they're basically mortar cases or something like that. And he built them last year to be safe and to have them shoot off fireworks. Anyway, it was a really nice display. And so we really enjoyed ringing in the new year. New Year's is a special time for our family just to kind of reset, and we have a nice little celebration the next day. We haven't always been able to do that every year because other people want us to come over and do different things, or they want to stay late, and so it's just a fun day for us. We get to just eat a lot of garbage, junk food, and this year we tried to experiment with French fries.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, like we had a French fry pizza. That's better than the cauliflower pizza, I will say that. The cauliflower pizza was no good.
It wasn't bad, but I don't know if it's something we would necessarily do again.
No. Then the little
then we had
tater
tot cheeseburger bites, which was kind of a little tedious and a lot of work for...
And it wasn't that great. I mean, honestly, I would do a waffle fry and then put a little burger on there, but... Yeah. It was a nice little effort. And we had our normal little snacks that we do, and we pull out the Wii that doesn't exist anymore, but the kids like to play Mario Kart, and we just play games. We played Seven Wonders. We got that at the beginning of the year here. It's a interesting board game, and we played that a good bit.
Yeah, that was
fun.
So
we played some board games and just had a wonderful day. It was good. So the weather up here has been very, very
hot
until today.
Right.
It was freezing today. Yesterday and today, it's finally winter, but
it's just nice because it's good that it feels like winter because it's been like,
at least it was sunny.
We went high from 84. And that's just
it was 84 on New
Year's
Year's Day. It was 84 degrees. That was awesome. But now it's like the low tonight is 29.
Right.
And I know no one wants to hear about the weather in South Louisiana. Usually if you're talking about the weather, you don't have anything to talk about, right? But it is significant for us that it was 84. It was wonderful. It was beautiful, sunny. And then now it's sunny in 29. Well, not say sunny. It's going to be dark in 29.
Right.
But it was a nice day today. It was got in the 50s. So
Yeah,
I'm not complaining.
that was nice.
You know, if my parents heard this, they would be we'd take sunny and 50 right now.
Well, I talked to my mom. She said, or my dad, he said the high today was 15.
15.
There, so.
Yeah, they just had an outdoor hockey game in Minnesota. And at game time, which was 6 p.m., the high was -6 degrees, I think, or 7 degrees, something like that. It was negative.
Crazy.
And they still played the game, I guess. And my dad was a hockey player. And that was one reason I didn't play hockey. I liked watching it, but did not want to play it because I always froze. I was like, no, if the point of this is to freeze, I don't want to play. So, but anyway, that's kind of what happened to us. Larry is not with us because we went and watched a movie, and we're going to give a review of American Underdog. If you don't know what American Underdog, it's the Kurt Warner story. If you don't know who Kurt Warner is, then you're probably not going to want to watch this movie. But he was a football player, went undrafted, and in the 2000s, when I still paid attention to football, he was in the heart of that, and I knew his story growing up, and because he was a Christian, I really paid attention to his story, so I was excited to go see the movie when I heard it. One of the listeners actually told me they went and saw it, and I was like, oh, that's right, it's coming out, and I don't really pay attention to the movies that much, so we've only been to a handful of movies in our married life.
Just a few.
So we do watch movies, but we just haven't gone to the movies.
Usually you say, we could just wait on that one.
Well, we can wait. So. But this one we went and saw. Larry had not, so he bowed out, and so we're going to be watching this. No, we're not be watching it. We're going to be talking about it.
What?
We're going to watch it while we're talking about it. No, it's not out. So anything else that you could think of from the last week that we needed to talk about?
I think that's about it.
No, just the New Year's. It's being hot and having friends over. It was fun.
Yeah.
All of our friends are sick. It's that time of year when people are sick.
Yeah.
The COVID's going around again, and we haven't really been able to see too many people. That's why I was kind of low key this year. Not many people getting out. Not feeling well. So we're hoping everybody out there feels better, and please stay safe. So anyway, Joshua, why don't you go ahead and get us out of here? We'll come back. We'll play our game, I think, and then we'll get into our topic of the day.
You're listening to the Mike Charleston Podcast.
All right, we are back, and we are, like we said, we're going to be playing a game, and I'm not really sure how this game's going to work. We are joined now with Abigail. This is my oldest daughter, Abigail.
Hey.
Okay, so Abigail, explain to us what we are doing here.
Well, we've collected a bunch of movie clips from Christian movies, and we're going to see how many of them you can guess.
So yeah, we like Christian movies. I watch a lot of them. Our family watches a good bit of them. Yes, they are cheesy as all get out at times. So what the challenge was to see if I could just recognize these. And so hopefully they're kind of popular Christian ones. Okay, so we're going to start, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just going to push number 1.
Yes.
And I'm supposed to guess this.
Mm-hmm.
Those who see God as angry
This is an easy one.
do not see him rightly.
Oh, that was it? Mm-hmm. That is, that's definitely Luther. Yep. I knew that one right away. Okay, so I'm 1 for 1. All right, number 2. Go to number 2.
Yes, you can go to the second one.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That's all I get.
That's it.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
Does it sound familiar?
Just that little clip right there? Mm-hmm. Vaguely, but I mean, that's a very short clip.
We weren't sure if you'd get it from that, so you can play the third one.
The third one? Oh, is that like connected to it?
Yeah, you're going to get it.
Well, let me go back to
third.
number 2. Let me hear it one more time.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I
know this. I know it. It's okay. I'm sorry. Because this is a podcast, I don't want to just keep thinking about it, so I will go on to number 3. It was like he was calling somebody, and let's go to number 3 then.
You don't want to run my play, but
Hey!
it's okay. It's all right.
Where's my car?
Where you park it?
Right here.
Yeah, that was.
You sure? Because ain't no way it got stolen.
This is Facing the Giants.
Yep.
Right. The second one was he was taking a call, right?
The second one is where his son came back in while he was in a meeting or something.
Okay. Right. Whatever. All right. So I got that one kind of.
Kind of on the second try.
That was a weird clip. I don't think many people would get on that first one. Okay. So number 4. What is this one?
Well, you have to guess it.
Occasional incompetence may be overlooked, but yours persists at a level worthy of Parliament.
Oh, yes.
No,
Okay.
my good man, my decision is final.
Yep. Yes, I know this
I
one.
must let you go.
It's a long clip. The other one was barely a clip. So anyway, yeah, this one's an easy one. This is one of my kids' favorite ones. I really don't care for this. This is Beyond the Mask.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so number 5.
Yes.
Any prep for this one? Just play it?
I said you wouldn't be able to get this one, but Rekka thinks you can.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Would you relax? Until the good Lord decides it's time for me to go, there's nothing going to kill me. Once he decides it is time, there's nothing going to keep me. Not much point in worrying about it either way.
I know this one. He's in a hospital.
Yep.
Oh, man. Let me play it again.
Would you relax? Until the good Lord decides it's time for me to go, there's nothing going to kill me. Once he decides it is time, there's nothing going to keep me. Not much point in worrying about it either way.
That's true. But boy, oh boy. I got that one movie we just watched in my head, but I know it's not it because he wasn't in a hospital. So I'm going to have to go with, what's the name of that one movie? It's not God's Not Dead, but it's the other one. I don't know the name of it. Let's go with God's Not Dead.
Nope. It's Do You Believe?
That's that was what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the title though. Do You Believe? Yes, that was what I was thinking of. Honest, that's what I was thinking of. But I still said God's Not Dead. Number 6.
Yep.
Okay. Did you guys bet on this one too?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing about atheism. It doesn't take away the pain. It just takes away the hope.
That's the thing about atheism. This was one we just saw recently too, I think, huh?
I don't know how recently we saw this one.
I got 2 things in mind. It's a matter of faith is a guess, but I don't think that's it. Or it's God's Not Dead. Man, it sounds familiar. I'm on the mic, so the pressure is on. I don't know. Is it a matter of faith?
Nope. God's Not Dead too.
God's Not Dead too. I was going to say God's Not Dead, but I didn't think it was the first one. Okay, I'm failing here, babe. She's over there.
All right, this next one might be a little tricky. Rebecca couldn't guess this one.
Here's what I learned. No one is promised tomorrow. So I'm choosing to put my faith in the one who holds all my tomorrows. As for me and my family, it's the only way to live.
Oh yes, I was struggling, but yes, this is Indivisible. Yes,
That's right.
Yep. Right at the end, I'm like, wait a minute, I recognize that music. It was Indivisible. Mm-hmm. So yep. Okay, so number 8.
Yes.
Beat you, Rebecca. Got it.
Justice was served, but not to this family. I owe them a debt I can never repay. I cannot, and I will not, go another day without facing them and accepting responsibility for what I have done.
This is a hard one.
I thought it was hard, at least.
At first, I was thinking, do you believe? Because it sounds like a David A.R. White production. But then I was thinking like God's Compass. So I'm going to go with God's Compass.
Nope. Grace Card.
Oh, man, that was the other one I was thinking of. All right, what number are we on?
9.
Number 9. I am not doing well. I hope you guys out there are doing better. Number 9.
What a piece of junk.
It's vintage classic.
It's vintage junk. Look at it. It's dead.
It's not dead.
This is your cousin's.
Yes.
What does he look like?
Oh.
Not nearly as good as the band.
Yes. Okay. I don't like this movie, really. This is my kids' one of their favorites. It took me a while to get it. But the weird curly-haired guy is the other voice, and this is October Baby.
Yep.
Right. Okay, next one. What number?
10.
Number 10.
I'm sure you'll get this one.
Oh, okay, guaranteed.
All right. That was impressive.
Yeah, until
I do it under 20.
That's right.
Time me.
Oh, I'll time you.
I'll time you. Ready?
Ladies.
Go.
Oh, it's hot. This is definitely fireproof.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, that was an easy one.
That one was hard to find one that would try to stump you at all.
Yeah, well, I didn't think we were trying to stump. All right, number 11.
Do you have any coffee?
I'm sorry, all I serve here is water.
Oh, okay, yep.
You have got to be kidding me.
Yes, you got to be kidding me. I don't drink coffee either, but come on, man. You pull up to the diner and they don't have coffee, and all he serves is water. I bet you it's living water. This is The Encounter.
Yep.
Yep.
It's at the Last Chance Diner.
That's right, the Last Chance Diner. Yep. Very, very famous, the Encounter. All right, Bruce Marciano, or whatever his name is. Number 12.
Yep.
There must be some mistake. This amount?
Well, yes.
Yes.
Very kind of you, sir.
Very kind of you, sir. You have treated me in a very Christian way. This is definitely Time Changer.
Yep.
Yep. Recognize that. Okay, so now I got to go on to number 13.
Yep.
Number 13. We're almost there.
I like you, okay? You seem like a real good person. I respect you. But there is no way, ever, at all, ever, that you are going to get me on that stage.
Oh, yes, you will. Yep. Yeah, this is, I can only imagine. Yep. There is no way I'm getting that one wrong. Okay, that's a good one. All right, number 14.
But the swim theory is rubbish.
Oh, the swim theory is rubbish. Is that your professional opinion?
Is that a medical opinion?
Yes, that is my medical opinion.
It is.
That is definitely the case for Christ.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorites. That is a classic. Is it rubbish? Yes, yes.
All right, so this next one we have two choices.
Oh, two choices.
We couldn't decide which one, so you get to choose. Do you want to do 15 or 16?
Why not do both?
All right, you can do both.
We got them right here, so I might as well do them, right?
Okay.
I'll do number 15. Here we go.
You know the difference between you and these people? They're cowards.
Oh, I know this one. Yep, took me a while. This is Woodlawn.
Yep.
Yeah, difference between them is cowards. That's a great one. Woodlawn is a great one. We'll talk about that one. And the last one?
Sure.
If wanting to win is a fault, then I plead guilty. I like to win.
It's the same movie.
No other way.
Yep.
It's in my blood.
It's in my blood. Yeah, it's Woodlawn.
Yep.
All right, how did I do? What did I do? I missed 2?
I think you missed 3.
3? Oh, 2.5.
Yeah.
I still protest on that one. That was kind of a lame. Was that Javier talking, or you said that was his
Javier's
son?
not in Facing the Giants.
Yeah, wrong one.
It was Matt's dad.
Matt's dad. That was this clip?
No.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, when he walks in and he was going to... the other guy walked in after his son just basically said, Dad, I repent, and I've been a bad son, and from now on I'm going to do whatever. And he was just thrown back, and his secretary dude or whatever he was came in and was like, do you want me to leave? And he's like, it's okay. No, that's right.
Yep.
I missed it. Unbelievable. Okay. So anyway, that's that. I hope you guys scored better than I did. If you did, you're just as geeky as I am on Christian movies and videos. So now we're gonna get back here and we're gonna talk about the movie that we actually wanted to talk about, American Underdog. So we'll be right back after this.
The Mike Charleston Podcast. The Mike Charleston Podcast.
Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast today. If you want to be a part of the show, you want to make a comment or ask a question, please go to talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. That is talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. And go ahead and ask your question or leave a comment, and we'll be glad to read it or answer your question. Thank you very much. right, we are back, and we got done playing our game, and it was a fun game, challenging. I think I missed 3.5. I think that's what we figured out. Not 2.5. I think I said 2.5, but it was like 3.5.
Still way better than what I would have done.
Yes. Well, come on, man. I knew that one. I just couldn't think of the name, and I was on pressure. We didn't edit it. Maybe I can edit back in. So let's see. Let's pause real quick and let's say, "Do you believe?" Yes.
Hey,
ding.
you got it.
Yes. No, it's but yeah, some of those were a little hard, man. Those clips, but no. So speaking of Christian films, so let's go this angle here, babe. We didn't grow up when we were raising our kids. We wanted to not have cable TV in our house. We didn't even have a TV for a few years, not even a screen in the house.
Right.
And we started having kids, and we eventually got a TV /
VCR combo.
Yeah, those were cool.
Big and heavy.
Roll it out and put a VHS in. If you don't know what a VHS is, kids, go back and you can Google it or something like that. But it was about this big, and have little lines through the video. Anyway, it was. We would select videos that we would want our kids to watch.
Right.
We didn't have cable, and so when we say we didn't have TV, it was like we don't have channels to watch.
Right.
But we would select videos to watch. So we weren't anti shows or anything. We wanted our kids to grow up without watching things, and we wanted them to be more creative, read more. Do all those type things. Use their hands. Get outside. Do all those things. You could always watch TV later, and you could always, once you have your character developed. Well, in the last few years, we've watched a good bit of Christian films and other things too. But our kids are getting to that age, and we talk about them a good bit. So we're going to be talking about Christian films, one Christian film in particular. But before we get to why, we're going to be talking about American Underdog. It's a new movie out that's it's a Christian film, allegedly. You know, they claim it's a Christian film. Yeah. We went and saw it. It's the Kurt Warner story. He's a football player that is in the Hall of Fame, and it didn't start out like a normal football player. He didn't get drafted. He didn't play in the NFL for many years, and he played in the Arena Football League, and I think he even played in Europe. It didn't show that in the movie, but I'm pretty sure he played in Europe. And he wasn't. He was kind of overlooked and just wasn't highly thought of, and here he is winning Super Bowls and going to not to spoil it for people. I think people know that he won Super Bowls and is MVP. But by the way, if you haven't watched the movie, you might want to
go watch the movie first, and then listen if you plan to watch it.
But I was a little disappointed with this movie, and we're going to tell you why we're disappointed. But before we get there, it's going to be a long way to get there, I think. But Christian films, I think they're very important in many ways. I know people call them cheesy and preachy, and they just don't like Christian films. I think the people that say that have not watched Christian films in the last 10 years because, honestly, they have gotten a lot better.
Some of them.
Yes.
Some of them not.
Oh, just like anything.
You have to be selective.
Even in the world, there is a lot of garbage, a lot of cheesy movies. So it's not just Christianity that does this.
Yeah.
They have a good percentage of them that are. The reason why I like Christian films is it has great potential for storytelling for believers. Storytelling for believers. Our family, we really like stories. Our kids are writing stories. In fact, Rebecca's written a book. She's written a book, and if you don't know that, it's called
Deception and Loyalty.
Deception and Loyalty. She also made a short film for the film festival, Christian Worldview Film Festival, something like that, Faith Over Fear.
Right.
And so she's really creative in that way. And our other girls also have written books, not published them, just write books. They like to write. They like stories. We like stories. And the one thing about movies are they tell stories. And it's shorter than reading a 12-hour book. Or a 20-hour book or a 50-hour book in some ways. So they have great potential in storytelling for believers. Like we want to be entertained too, right?
Yeah, it's always good to watch a good movie, something that could be inspirational or, just make you think about something that you haven't thought about in a while. And so I think movies are great for that.
Yeah, and I actually take pleasure in the cheesiness. I'm all right with cheesy. I mean, like if you're against cheesiness, then you can't watch Hallmark. So all you people who like Hallmark, the whole channel is cheesy. You can't watch. There's a lot of things that are just cheesy out there, but they throw Christian movies into cheesy for some odd reason. But honestly, or preachy. And I'm like, well, they're Christian movies, but I still want a movie. I want to be entertained by a story that is about like what I'm living like, my life, and I want it to represent me. I don't want to always have to go to different outlets to watch a movie that has nothing to do with my values, my worldview, or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So part of the problem with that, we have watched other movies, but you do have the fact that they are all right with some things, like cursing or some things that are just inappropriate for young kids. So what we have found, and we have subscribed to all of these that I'm about to mention, we currently subscribe to only one, and that is ClearPlay. ClearPlay is an editing, I shouldn't say editing, a filter service for movies, especially online. Now, VidAngel came out, and we got VidAngel right away, and it was a wonderful program. It was cheap. It was wonderful. It was so specific. I felt like I saw the whole movie before I got done, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. I feel more dirty editing it than I do watching it. But VidAngel went through a process of being sued by Disney and some other people, and they lost somewhat. I don't know. But anyway, they didn't have as many movies to filter, and at that point, I was out. So I found ClearPlay, and they are pretty good at filtering. We don't watch too many movies, but when we do, we don't want to put up with all the cursing. Right. We don't want to put up with some of the inappropriate things that might be in a movie. So if we can edit it out, that doesn't ruin the movie. However, the one thing that we'll say about that is it doesn't make an ungodly movie godly.
Absolutely.
But it helps, I remember when they said this was, and I don't want to even say this movie because it's not a very great movie at all. So maybe I'll think of something else. But because it was a really, really bad movie at the time, and they're like, just because we have that available and it can be filtered doesn't make it a good movie. Yeah. So just because, there was a movie we were talking about letting the kids watch, but I was like, it's just, think about some of the elements that are in here. You can't edit that stuff out.
And keep it still
right. That would make sense in the story. So it was just like, no, we're just not even going to watch the movie. And
it works really well for movies that are just like feel good, fun movies, but there's just some language in there that you want to take out.
Right.
It's nice for that. But
Absolutely.
if you've got a lot of adult material and thematic
much,
elements that
then
you don't
probably
want
not
in
for
there,
you anyway.
Right. Not going to work.
But I remember the first one we did on ClearPlay was Home Alone. And Home Alone is not like filthy, but it's not clean. It's not totally clean.
Yeah.
And it actually edits out some of the lightweight words, like idiot or stupid. And if you're a kid and you're listening to this right now and you're not supposed to hear that, sorry. So we edited almost all the crude language. I didn't even want to go down and look at it. And so I just said crude and cursing. Just edit it out. Well, it was like even worse. It was like blanking out everything. And I'm like, my goodness, was it that bad? So I put the crude language back in, and it was a little bit better, if that makes any sense. But
that sounds really bad.
It does. It does. But it was a unique experience. But you could edit out a few of there were some inappropriate movies with the magazine, scenes with the magazine that you just edit out, and it's not there.
And it didn't affect the movie at all. We still
no.
Just
the only
it. It was
problem with things like that is in the future when someone's like, "Well, I remember watching that movie," and they just watch the whole movie, and they're like, "I don't remember that." Well, you know why? Because that wasn't in there, in our version. But no. So you got to be careful with those things. But we like to filter the movies that we watch just because we don't curse in our house or outside the house, and we don't really want that in our house. So even if it's just a few, now there's some movies that don't have a filter, and so we have to make that choice.
Right.
And it's a tough choice at times, and so I'm not always as conservative as I should be, maybe. So anyway, we've gotten to that point in here where we are pro-Christian films. We subscribe to PureFlix.
Right.
We have that service. You don't know what PureFlix is. It's just all Christian movies, and it is a cheese fest. Half the movies on there are so cheesy.
Really, really struggling.
A lot of them are ridiculous, and we make fun of them, and we watch them, and I'm like, I can't believe. But there's actually some really good ones on there too.
Which is surprising because, like, when on New Year's Day when we were going through some of those cheesy previews, it's amazing that they don't put the better ones up at the top
on the featured list.
Right.
Yeah, when their search engine isn't very good, and their featured ones, I'm not sure about. They were maybe decent, but as we were scrolling down through the list of what they had about 10 winners.
Yeah.
And none of them were on the featured list. I'm like, well, where are they? No, those are really good ones. Why weren't those up there? However, anyway, so like I said, we are pro-Christian films. I'm not going to make fun of Christian films. I like the fact that there's clean movies out there for families to watch. I am a fan of clean movies. Shocking. But so and I'm all for entertainment for Christians. I know some people might be against that, but every once in a while, I think it's okay for us to be entertained. And why not be entertained by our own? You know, The Chosen has been coming out, and that's actually, I think, a pretty good movie. We've talked about that, TV show. But we've talked about that, and we'll probably talk about that here in the future when season 3 comes out. The cinematography is very good. The storytelling is very good. How accurate it is with the Bible, not always so accurate, but I'm willing to let that slide a little bit. So anyway, you have a question here.
I do.
Okay, I'm curious. You're going to spring this on me.
Well, it's not really a hard question.
Okay.
But what do Clayton Kershaw, Tim Tebow, Kurt Warner, Reggie White, and Tony Dungy have in common?
These are all Christian athletes.
Oh, okay. You
Right.
got it.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
well, I just had looked up the top Christian athletes, and of course, some names I didn't recognize, but those I recognize.
what were the names again?
Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, he's a pitcher for the Dodgers.
Okay. Tim Tebow.
Yeah, he was a football player that wasn't any good.
Okay. Kurt Warner.
Yeah, he was what the movie's about.
Right. Reggie White.
He was a lineman on the Eagles.
And Tony Dungy.
He was a football player on the Steelers, but he was a coach. He's known for his coaching for the Buccaneers and Colts.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all well known for their. I don't know about Clayton Kershaw. I never heard that one, but
oh, really? Because he was on multiple lists when. Like
I stopped watching baseball a long time ago, so I don't really pay attention that much to the sports. Those are older names, so I knew those. Some of them are so obvious, like Tim Tebow. The only time I remember Tim Tebow is when he beat my Steelers on a miracle play.
That's what that was about.
Yes, well, he's not really that great, but he won some games and he won that one. But anyway, so yeah, those are Christian athletes, and one of them is Kurt Warner, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. But some more background before we get into the movie review of American Underdog is who this was the Erwin brothers. Now, if you know us, we are big fans of the Erwin brothers. The Erwin brothers changed their name to the Kingdom Story Company, but it's still the Erwin brothers. And they make movies like I Still Believe, I Can Only Imagine, Woodlawn, Mom's Night Out, and October Baby. Now, if you've never seen any of those, all those are pretty good. Some of them are great. Now, I'm not a big fan of Mom's Night Out or I Still Believe. I Still Believe was their latest one. It was a story about, who was that? I forget. Joshua could tell me, but he's not going to turn around and say anything, are you? I wouldn't say Steve Camp, but it's not Steve Camp.
No,
I know
not.
that. Jeremy Camp.
Yeah.
I knew it was a Camp. So I Still Believe. I Can Only Imagine and Woodlawn were excellent. I really enjoyed both of those.
Great.
Those were very well done. October Baby was, the kids love it. The more I see it, the more I don't like it.
Stop watching it then.
I know, right? But it was all right. It was all right. But the other ones, I wasn't a big fan. Mom's Night Out was supposed to be a comedy. It has a good story to it. You really didn't like it. I think you need to give it another try.
Maybe so.
But it wasn't like great. So I was like, eh. So anyway, their production is top notch. One of the best in Christian filmmaking.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Right. You have the Kendrick brothers who are getting better and better every one they do. They are very preachy, and I appreciate that. I like that.
Yeah.
In some ways, I know sometimes it can get overbearing. Sometimes like, oh, it's just a sermon. But I think they do it in a very good way. I'm not offended by it. The Erwin brothers are Christians, and they have a good Christian message. In fact, Woodlawn has a very good message in it. I love the story. I can only imagine the story of Bart Millard. I did not know. And so going through his story, it really touched me. I really loved the story.
It's a powerful movie, for sure.
Of Bart Millard. The Erwin brothers, I would say, aren't as strong gospel-wise, but it's still a good Christian film, if that makes any sense. It's good. So I'm laying the groundwork here for my review and why I was so disappointed with the movie that we just saw. The Erwin brothers, my expectations were already high. If I'm going to watch a Christian movie, my expectations aren't that high. Okay? Let's just be fair.
Because it's a Christian movie, so chances are it'll be kind of cheesy.
Absolutely. When I see the PureFlix logo, I'm expecting a little cheese. That's why when The Case for Christ came out and I saw PureFlix, I was like, oh, that's maybe one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And PureFlix did it. So I was like, wow, how about that? So they every once in a while can do a really good one. God's Not Dead's not too bad unless you're talking about number 3, and that was dreadful. We are not getting paid by the way by any of these people. Clearplay, VidAngel, PureFlix. Sorry, we're not sponsored by them, so I can say what I want until they sponsor us, and then I'll come back and change my mind. But no, just kidding.
So your expectations were low,
a little high.
Okay, I thought
because it's the Erwin brothers. Because
okay.
I know if it's a Christian film, it's going to be a little lower. But because I know if it's a Kendrick movie, I'm expecting it to be a little higher,
right?
A little bit better. But the quality, the music, the sound quality, just the creativity, the Erwin brothers are top notch, and for a Christian film. And I think I have higher expectations for them. And in those ways, I don't think I was disappointed. We'll talk about that in just a second. But that's the people who make the movie. So you like the Erwin brothers too, right?
Yeah, they make some great movies.
Okay, right. Yeah. So your expectations before going. So here's the other thing. I didn't see any trailer. I didn't see anything. I didn't read anything about this movie. I just knew it was the Kurt Warner story, which I already knew. So this is based on a true story. I knew the story of Kurt Warner. I knew he lived his faith out in public. It was pretty obvious. So I knew the story going in. You don't know the story of Kurt Warner very much. No. And you went and watched trailers. And so what was your expectations going into the movie?
I mean, knowing it was the Erwin brothers, I was really thinking it was going to be an amazing story of his life being transformed by the gospel and him wanting to, share Christ with the world through his platform of football.
Yeah, and I watched a couple interviews today on the story, and the producers and all that. They want to go more mainstream. And they want to reach more people, where the Kendrick brothers definitely are preaching to the choir, as they say. They're preaching to the Christians. And if other people can hear it, maybe that's good. But the Erwin brothers were like, I want to be broad and out. And what that reminded me was in the 90s or early 90s, when Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant both went mainstream, and they put out their secular album, and it was that's when she came out with her song Baby Baby. And it's not like their songs were bad, but they definitely weren't Christian.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, who are you? Are you going to go on that side, or are you going to go on this side? Well, Amy Grant ended up going on that side. She ended up marrying a country singer, and she went into the country world, and she really didn't put out many more Christian albums. Yeah. Michael W. Smith kind of backtracked, and he totally went back into the Christian world, and that's where he's been. Right. So it seems like you almost have, it's hard to go in the middle there. It's fans don't really like that you kind of left, and the other fans don't really accept you. So it is tough. And when you're doing movies, it is tough to reach those who aren't Christians, because they're going to be like, this is just a Christian movie, cheesy Christian movie. It's preachy. Yeah. And so the temptation is to reach out to those, kind of like people do in church, is to reach the sinners. We got to water down the message a little bit. And we have to throw in some curse words. We got to have some make-out scenes. We've got to have all these other things that the world will accept. But at the end of the day, you're not really going to convert or reach out to them. Yeah. Now, I heard his story. It was like, if we give them a taste of what it's like, they know where they can read more of the story. I get it. I get what they're saying. If you want to know more about Kurt Warner and his story, there are plenty of books. This was based kind of on the book that Kurt Warner wrote. So anyway, let's go in what we liked about the movie first.
Okay.
Because there was a lot to like about the movie, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I had high expectations. Like I said, I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't see a trailer. So when it started, and like I predicted, it was good quality. The music, the sound, the video, the creativity, the shots, clear, beautiful shots.
Yeah.
Very much like an Erwin Brothers film. So I was impressed that it was well shot.
Yeah, it was well done.
It was pleasant to the eye. It was easy to watch. The story flowed. It made sense. It wasn't clunky.
Yeah.
It was very well done. The sports action was very real. It was very good. When the danger of doing a sports film is it's never realistic. It's they're doing a better job these days, but it's usually you get these guys who don't look like football players. In fact, the actor looked like Kurt Warner. It was actually pretty amazing how this actor looks pretty much like Kurt Warner. Like if I even told you that, I'm like, wow, he even looks like him.
Yeah.
And he looked like a football player. Like he didn't look like. Sometimes they throw in this guy and he's a little overweight and a little older. You're like, dude, that doesn't pass, And some of their actions when they're trying to throw, especially in a baseball, they're trying to throw a baseball, and it's like you're throwing it 50 miles an hour, dude. I can tell by the motion. I played baseball, and no, you're not throwing like that. And so it's very tough to make a sports movie. You try to make a hockey movie, it's hard to do that on ice. You try to do a football movie, there's so many moving parts, it's hard to make a good football movie. Same thing with baseball. It's tough to do.
Yeah.
So basketball, don't even try. They usually have to have dogs in there, and it just doesn't, Air Bud doesn't work.
It wasn't, I do remember Air Bud.
Air Bud.
It wasn't cheesy, and I liked that it was well done, and I did like his determination. I mean, that was very inspiring to see him want so badly to reach his goal, and he worked really hard to get there, never gave up. So I'm like, that really
and he was a giving person. You can obviously tell in the movie that this person, he cared.
Yeah.
He cared about, now once again, I'm trying not to, spoiler alert, all this, if you haven't watched it, you might want to turn away. But his wife, had kids already, and special needs kid. And he did a very good job with reaching out. He's a college age person, and here he is spending time with trying to be a family man. And so he wants to do the honorable thing. He wants to do what is right. He's determined to reach his goal. He doesn't give up. In fact, he does give up in the movie for a season and go stock some shelves in a grocery store. And then they're like, no, you need to go follow your goal. And fortunately, there was an Arena League team in his area. Yeah. And if there wasn't, who knows what would ever happen. But we wouldn't have this movie.
No.
But anyway, so that was some of the things we did like. Yeah. Now, some of the things we didn't like. So we're going to sound very critical here, and I know we know people who really liked the movie, and I get it. It was very well done. Like I said down here, it's like, as a football movie, this was great. As an inspirational movie, it was great. Yeah. But as a Christian movie, not so great, I didn't think. And this is why, some of the negative things. There was cursing in this movie. And I'm like, people are like, oh my goodness, not cursing. Look, I can handle cursing. I work around people who curse. I go to customers' houses that curse. Cursing is in our society. It's not like, and the cursing that they used in this movie, quite honestly, is not like that offensive. It's what we call biblical curse words, the stuff you'll find in the Bible. Yeah. And it wasn't a whole bunch. I think it was like 4 or 5 times that was in here. So. But that's my problem. So here's my problem with this. Why even have it? Like, what are you trying to do? You're going to make the Christians upset, and you're trying to say, oh, see, we're cool and relevant. We can have a cursing in this word because we're relevant and we're cool, and we can just show you that we're not legalistic. Well, then just go all the way then. Why are you just, pussyfooting around and having just this little bit here and like, okay, we're just walking like a little cat here and making sure we're not offending too much, but just might as well just go all the way and just use real words that they do on the football field. If you want to relate and be cool, You know,
Right.
come on, man. Some of the things they say, they're not saying that. Trust me, they're not saying that. But so I was just like, what's the point of dropping a few words? You sprinkled a couple words throughout the movie, and it just didn't fit. Like, it just didn't make any sense. You're trying to make a family movie. Disney has figured this out where they don't have to have a movie with cursing in it. So why do you feel like you have to, you know, put a few curse words in?
Well, and for us as Christians, we feel like with a Christian movie, we don't usually expect to need to filter.
Exactly.
And it's like, for why? Like you say, what's the point?
Right. And a lot of people out there be like, oh, come on, really? Well, oh, come on yourself. I mean, I'm not expecting to have to, you know, look through and see if there's going to be cursing in this. And like I said, it was lightweight. If we watch this at my house, would I filter it? Probably not. Just because, okay, well, I have a filter. If there is a filter for it, I might use it. But it's a shame that you'd have to think about it. Like, I've never had to think about filtering fireproof, or I actually looked up fireproof one time just to see what would be filtered out. And there was actually a good number of things. But they want to filter out like God, because it could mean other things. Oh. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. But anyway, so the cursing was a point. Wasn't the hugest point, but like, why are you doing it? You're a Christian filmmaker. Why even go down that road? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like you were good with the other ones. I don't know if in Woodlawn they might have said a word or two. But I get what you're getting at, but it just stuck out at me like, that just seems out of place. Like, you just, like, look, man, go all the way then. Why don't you say some other things if you're going to keep the PG rating?
And I feel like as a Christian movie, Christian movies are meant to be different. And
right.
So by putting that in there, I feel like, are you trying to like normalize this to where, let's see if next time we can slide a little bit more and it'll be fine? Or,
well, I think that's the point. He doesn't want to be seen as Christian movies. He wants to be the K-Love. He wants to be positive, encouraging, and reach out to a broader spread of people, which I can appreciate. If it's not a Christian film, now it can appeal. And so by dropping those words in, you just subtly won't tell them it's a Christian film. But then my other point was that I didn't like, it didn't focus on his Christianity hardly at all.
Yeah.
It focused on his worldliness. I don't know how many times we were in a bar, how many times he was drinking, how many times his wife was drinking, or his girlfriend at the time, was drinking. People were drinking, and there was a lot of bar scenes and a lot of dancing and a lot of all those things, which, to be fair, I'm all right with. Like, if that's part of the story, that's all right. If you're telling how he would go into the bars and that's how they met, you're not going to change the story because it's not true. Just like in The Case for Christ, the guy was an atheist and he drank, and it showed that he was not. He wasn't a pleasant person, and for most of the movie, he was a jerk. And then he gets saved, and not a spoiler, but but on this one, it never had that moment where you're showing his Christianity. Mm-hmm. So he prays in the hotel room. That's it. And then he's back to football. And the only time, he doesn't even say Jesus in this thing. That's the problem here, is that the only time he ever even says anything close to like, is at the very end where it's the real clip in the Super Bowl, and it's really him. And he says, I first want to give glory to my Lord and Savior. And I'm like, that's the only time they really say anything. They mention vaguely about her faith. It's really important to you. As she's sleeping with him, getting drunk, dancing with all these other guys at a bar. How important is your faith? I mean, I know this is a true story, but where's that realization that Christ has come into your life? Because I know the real story. And Kurt Warner was very vocal about his relationship with Jesus Christ. He was very vocal. This was not very vocal at all. It had vague references to God and nothing about Jesus. Listen to it, watch it again. It had nothing to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
No Jesus.
Yeah, that was very disappointing.
Yeah, that's what disturbed me the most. And I was like, it focused more on the ungodly activities than it did the godly activities. There was no godly activities. He just mentioned God a couple times. He prayed once or twice or whatever.
Kind of.
Right.
You know.
It just was, that was the sad part, was you're glorifying the sin part, which, once again, I'm all right. They weren't like over the top on it. It didn't show him getting drunk, or when it wasn't like they were dancing in a provocative way or anything like that. So those were tastefully done for a Christian film. Okay, they were drinking. I get that. But they didn't show the opposite side very well. It's like you're afraid to go there. So are you cowering to the world out there? Go ahead and be bold in that area too. Okay, you showed that side, show this side. It doesn't have to be blatant, doesn't have to be preachy. But you got to show that, hey, Christ is something important in your life now. Maybe, show him talking to the team or showing that, hey man, I don't know how you would do it, but I'm sure there's ways that you'd be creative.
Yeah, well, I kept kind of waiting for that come to Jesus moment, that moment when he just realizes his need for God, or there's going to be some kind of, powerful moment, and it never happened.
And if it was that in the hotel room where he's praying, that was weak. That was very, very weak. And I know this is all real life, but he doesn't mention Christ at all. Not at all. In his real life, he mentions Christ all the time. So that was kind of the sad part about this, was like there's trying so hard to get away from Christianity that I don't think they really made it good for Christians. It's like, well, okay, so you exposed us to all of the bad stuff that he did early on, and maybe he still does that. I don't know. Maybe he still goes dancing and drinking in bars. I don't know. Maybe that's part of his life. But I was really, really disappointed in that aspect of it. So going back to what we talked about earlier, my recommendation, if I compared it to a couple different movies. One of the movies was
Saving Mr. Banks.
Saving Mr. Banks. If you haven't seen that, that is a Disney movie, I think. It's about the story of Mary Poppins and how it came about and how it almost didn't come about. Yeah. And there's more to the story, and it's actually a touching story. It's very clean. It's a well done story, and it's very inspirational. Yeah. It's very good. Yeah. Same thing with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or something like that.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Yeah. It was a very good movie. You know the story of Mr. Rogers because we grew up with him. And it was very well done, a very nice story. It was clean. Yeah. Was there words in there at all? Maybe one or two. Same thing with Saving Mr. Banks. Yeah, it might have been a couple words. So that's what I compare it to. I didn't go into it thinking it was a Christian film. I didn't think, Saving Mr. Banks is a Christian film. It's an inspiring movie. It's a nice movie. It's a pleasant movie. It doesn't have to be Christian always. And that's what I compared this. Like, this is a nice story. It was, if you didn't tell me it was Christian, if I didn't know the Kurt Warner story already and I just saw this, I would have been like, that was a nice movie. It was very good. This guy didn't give up on his dream. He came from rags to riches, and as a sports fan myself, I can appreciate that. It's like, oh man, he never gave up. He just kept on going, and here he reached the top. Not only did he make it, he won the Super Bowl, the MVP, and is in the Hall of Fame now. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. And so that's why I was saying, as a football movie, I would say it was a really great football movie. If you like football and you want to hear a story about Kurt Warner, go watch it. It was a very, very good movie. Yeah. Yeah. If you want an inspirational movie like Saving Mr. Banks or the other one, Mr. Rogers, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, that's what it reminds me of. That's the genre that it should be in, is in that category right there. Not Christian. I don't think this was Christian at all. He just mentions God's name a couple times. They talk about faith vaguely. They mention God vaguely. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good movie. Once again, I hope you're understanding the difference here, that as a Christian film, I could not recommend it. If a guy was like, hey, you want a Christian film? I'd be like, well, this one, it's not a Christian film, so you got to check it out for yourself. Yeah. But it's still a good movie. It was still all right. But because of my expectations were so high, because I know the Irwin brothers very well and their work. I don't know them personally, but I know their work, and I really like their work. And so my expectations were really high. That's why I was so disappointed. Does not mean I didn't like it. It was still a good movie. Would I suggest people go out and watch it? If you like football movie, if you want to be moved, it's an inspirational movie. Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. But just know that there are some problems with it. You're going to be disappointed as a Christian that it's not like going to represent the Christian faith very well. It's not like, oh, wow, this guy was a Christian. And I suppose Tim Tebow's movie is going to be a little different.
Are they making one?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
But it's just that it just surprised me that it wasn't so blatant. And maybe that was their goal. They didn't want Christianity to be so blatant. But they were blatant with the sin and the other part of that life that was prior. And so I was confused. I was confused. And I know your sister who listens to the podcast, shout out to Mary, and she really loved it. And 10 out of 10, made her cry and all that stuff. So we're not trying to, rain on someone's parade here. Yeah. But I do want to clarify, because at the end of the day, I walked out of it and I thought, okay, it was fine. It was an all right movie. But I was still disappointed in them, in the Erwin brothers. If this was a new person making a movie coming out and it was just a great movie, I would have been like, hey, they have potential to be a really great filmmaker. Yeah. And they just have to decide what they want to be. Do they want to be a Disney writer or a Christian film guy? Because there is a place for Christian films where it's okay not to curse, okay not to have a makeout scene on the couch. Yeah. It's okay where you don't have to see these things and where it's good. And I know I'm sounding like a prude at times, but so what? These are certain genres. Just like if I go to read a cozy, if you know what a cozy is, it's a murder mystery that is nice. And so where they don't really have a lot of the cursing and sex and stuff that's in a lot of other books and things. So these cozies are nice and gentle. Well, there's a reason why they're called that. And so if you want those particular things, there are certain things for you. And I just felt like this one was not for me as a Christian to go watching Christian films. So don't deceive me and call it a Christian film. So I would not call this a Christian film. Great inspirational movie, great football movie. I don't know. What are your last thoughts on this?
I think you've kind of said it all, but I do think it was somewhat disappointing just coming from them. But like you say, if it was not the Erwin brothers and just a movie we had gone to see, I would have been like, not so bad. But so I guess it has a lot to do with expectations. Indeed.
And they're actually, we saw a trailer for another movie that they're coming out with in March, The Unbreakable Boy or something like that. Yeah. And we'll probably go watch that and give them another chance because it looks interesting. And once again, even if they decide they're just going to be in the inspirational genre, they're just say, okay, well, fine, don't call it Christian and just call us inspirational. Make it like a Saving Mr. Banks or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Then I'm all right with that. I really am. I'm all right with that. Just let me know ahead of time so I can make sure it's okay. Now, my kids are getting older. And so basically anything in that movie wasn't super offensive. It just was like you're deceiving people, though, by calling it a Christian film. And you started out like that, and now you're moving into this. And it's like, I don't know. Are you glorifying premarital sex? Now I'm assuming they moved in together, for crying out loud. Right. So I'm assuming here they are alone at night making out on the couch, and it was a quick scene, but still, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? We understand. All you had to do was say they're moved in together, and we get it. We understand, but. So anyway, are you going to be a Hallmark or are you going to be PureFlix? So either one is going to be cheesy somewhat. Yeah. But anyway, I hope we didn't make you too mad out there if you really liked it. Why don't you email us or comment on the YouTube down there why you liked it, if there was some things that disappointed you about it. Look, there's no perfect movies out there. There's a few that we liked. Oh, was I supposed to go through the ones that I really liked?
I thought you were. That's why you had. Okay, yeah.
That's so for some of you out there, if you're looking for a couple of really, really good movies to watch, here's a couple that we have watched, and I'm sure there's more that's not on this list, and maybe you can think of some that I thought were really, really good. Yes, they are cheesy somewhat. Some of them are really cheesy. But that's all right. You like good happy endings. I do. And love them. And all these are pretty much clean. I for the most part, I'm not sure if some of them are kind of violent, like Risen. We haven't let our younger kids watch Risen yet, but because of the crucifixion scene and just a couple other scenes in there that are very violent. Yeah. But other than that, Risen was a very interesting movie. It had a different aspect. It's a Roman soldier who's entrusted with investigating the empty tomb. And the empty tomb is, obviously the stories that were told. He has to investigate, see if the disciples stole the body and all. And in the process, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a good movie. He learns a lot.
Very good.
Risen. Another one is Kendrick. You're going to hear a lot of Kendrick ones in here. Kendrick Brothers. Overcomer. That's a pretty good one. A girl who's got asthma that runs miles and miles and miles, and it's got a good story about identity in Christ. And so this is why I'm okay with overtly Christian movies, because this is a good example. This is for Christians. It's not really for the world. Maybe they can be blessed by this, honestly, but this is like a message. It's almost like going to church, but it was entertaining, Yeah. And it was to tell us about our identity in Christ in a creative way, in a story, and I really like that. And so yeah. Overcomer, that was a good one. Obviously, Fireproof. If you do not have you not seen Fireproof, go watch it right now. It's a very powerful one. I think it was one of the Kendrick's best ones.
Yeah.
This was early on in their career, so there was some cheesy moments in there, but it was the overall story. The gospel message in the story is very well done. It's very obvious.
Yeah.
But how they get to that point is very good and very creative, don't you think?
I love Fireproof.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
one of my all-time favorites.
It is one of your favorites. All right, what about the next one, babe?
War Room.
War Room.
It's a good one, too.
It's another Kendrick brother. You really like this one, too.
I do. The power of prayer and just seeing the story of her really battling in her prayer closet for God to step in and work in her marriage.
Right,
So,
specifically in her marriage. But this is obviously, it's more than marriage. It's just prayer in general, prayer for a wayward child, prayer for anything.
Yeah.
This is a great story for that. Some cheesy moments once again. The Kendrick brothers are full of cheese.
But it's very enjoyable.
It is. I'm not saying it's not. It's one of our favorites. But anytime you watch a Kendrick brothers movie, there's gonna be a moment in there where it's just like, what is this? It's. They always want some comedy relief, and in fact, one of my favorite comics is in this, Michael Jr. So for anything, just watch his parts. It's good, just right there.
Yeah.
Grace Card. Grace Card is another one. Now, this one's underrated. Most people don't know about Grace Card. It's kind of like Courageous, but I think it's a little bit better in some ways.
Yeah.
There's some moments where it gets slow and it's a weird parts of it, but the overall story, I really like Grace Card. It's a good story.
I like the end when they all hold up their cards.
That's where it gets cheesy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where. Thank you for ruining it for everyone too. And the next one is maybe my favorite Christian movie of all time. It's right up there. That's The Case for Christ. This one is right up there. I mean, this one is very powerful. Once again, I think this is a story for Christians. This is him defending or investigating the resurrection of Christ. And it's based on the book, The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. And the way they do it, I think it's just brilliant. It's very well shot, very well acted. It is him going on a journey, and it feels so real. And I just really appreciate how they did the movie. I think it's a very excellent movie.
Yeah, definitely a faith-building movie. I know several of our kids, after watching it, would talk about just how much it builds your faith. Things that, sometimes people might question about the life of Christ and his death and his resurrection, all these things. And when you see this guy and his true story of, he's an atheist and he's trying to, basically prove that Christianity is a lie and all that. And when you see him going through the struggle and trying to find truth, it's very powerful, and it really builds your faith, which is, to me, what a Christian movie should do.
Right. He is not a Christian through most of this film. In fact, his marriage has fallen apart. He's not happy with his wife. He's mad at everybody, and he wants his life back. And so it's very, very well done. That one's definitely up there. And then God's Not Dead. I threw this on there because, honestly, this one was the first one. Even the second one, I think, were pretty good. It had some very cheesy moments. Newsboys is in this movie. Take them out of this. It's ridiculous, but it's going to be in there, and you just have to deal with it.
They are actually really good. 1 and 2, of course. 3 is
3 jumped the shark there. It was terrible. It was awful.
It was awful.
And we haven't seen number 4.
No.
But God's Not Dead, not terrible. And there's a couple other ones that we didn't mention in here that are pretty good. There's just a lot of other good ones.
Yeah.
But no, don't be afraid of Christian films. There's a lot of people out there like, oh, Christian films, they're all cheesy. And I'm like, yeah, there's a good number of them, but there is, in fact, a lot of really, really good ones. They're not going to compare to your best of the bests always. But you know what? I want a good movie every once in a while. I want one that makes me think, wants to challenge my faith in time. You know, not challenge my faith, but challenge me to grow in faith.
Right.
And challenge me in some area that maybe I haven't thought about. Fireproof really, you know, not that we ever struggled in marriage or anything like that, but it really opened my eyes like, wow, it's a good marriage movie. Like you've really got to fight for your marriage and kind of come to grips with who you really are. And so I really, really liked Fireproof for that. So anyway, those are some of the movies that we would definitely suggest.
Absolutely.
And they're really well done. Cheese factor, maybe we'll have a cheese factor on your 1 to 10. But that was it. That's pretty much it for the show. I do want to make one other comment. I did talk to my consultant today for a long time, and he did give me some pointers on some things, especially with the videos and all that. But the one thing I did forget to mention last week, and I will mention it this week, though, there was a couple emails. And the reason why he mentioned it, because it was one of his emails, too. So anyway, I forgot to mention Isaac. You emailed in, and so did our consultant. And they asked actually interesting questions, and we might get to that next time. We might not, but those are good questions that we might just take a whole episode on. They're very interesting questions, but we haven't forgotten it. We did get your emails, Isaac, and consultant. We did get your emails. You know I got yours. It was a very, very, very good question, too. So anyway, we will come back next week. Hopefully Larry will be in studio with us. Maybe we've got such a busy couple weeks coming up. Very busy. We've got a pig roast that is an annual pig roast at the Scoggins, and a day of fellowship over here in Lake Charles. Which, by the way, if you're interested in coming and visiting us and hearing Larry preach at the day of fellowship, it's on Friday. This Friday. Well, if you're listening to the podcast, it's too late. But so I'll leave the description and the link below on your podcast feed. There'll be a link there, and on YouTube there'll be a link there to thefellowshipdays.com, where you just click on the cachandele, as it's called, cachandele, which is a pig roast. It literally means pig in its milk or something like that, and in French. But it's a pig roast basically, and so. I'll leave the description there. And then we have a wedding to go to after that. It's busy.
Yeah.
So the podcasts and the YouTube channel might be on pause for a little bit. I don't know. But hopefully we'll be back next week. So thank you for listening, everyone. And for my wife, this is Mike, Sarah.
Yep.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Mike Charleston Podcast.